What's up, guys? Welcome, everybody. Another exciting show here, by the way. Daddy's rocking the daughter bracelet, so you know it's going to be an extra special show. Welcome back again, ladies and gentlemen, to the greatest show in agency goodness today. And quick little announcement for those of you guys. But by the way, those of you guys who are mastermind members, this is going to be a good week. I have been setting up all our processes inside of our onboarding stuff, which I'm going to give to you guys. And by the way, our onboarding, like all other things, is phoneless, meaning we can make clients happy from a distance where you don't have to be, spending hours on the phone talking to people, and you can just send stuff out and automate it and make clients feel awesome and good and all that. So we've got all that systematized, organized, and set up so you can plug and play that in your own agency. So these are going to be some good times. For the rest of you guys, I think that's all I got as far as announcements. Let's get into the good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings you our weekly Q&A. Cole, I know you were got me on the backup mics there, so just want to say what up to you all, you guys. All right, so let's get into the good stuff. Let's get into the questions. Let's help you guys build and grow some awesome agencies. Vincent says, how do you handle it when a prospect says, I'm good with the proposal, but when you send them the payment link and onboarding info, they don't do anything? Well, Vincent, there's a couple of things depending on where that's actually breaking down. So it sounds like maybe what you're doing is the person says, send me a proposal, in which case you email them the proposal later, and then it's up to them to raise their hand and say, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's do this. Or it sounds like they say, yep, it's good. Just go ahead and send me the payment link. And then they disappear on you. If it is the first one, by the way, most likely what is happening is you're letting the sale lose momentum. So when somebody says, all right, I'm good with it, that is the point in the conversation when I usually typically will say, is it okay then if I go ahead and send you the old payment link? Are you cool with that? And if they say yes, I usually ask a second time just to be sure. I say, hey, listen, I don't normally send payment links unless you're sure. And hell yes, this is something you want to do. Are you sure about that? And if they say yes twice, then I say send the payment link, because you don't want to find out if there's a real objection later that you can't deal with when you guys aren't in the flow of a conversation, which, by the way, I do over chat these days. I don't do that in like these long-winded kind of sales calls that everybody else does. Not that there's anything wrong with that if you guys are doing that, but I find it far more efficient just to ask, like, is there anything else like that stops us here from doing business kind of thing? The second issue is it could potentially be that they say, yes, I'm good with the proposal, let's get started, and you send the payment link and the onboarding. And it is the latter, your onboarding, that has so much complexity and so much information that is actually what's causing the hesitation. That it looks like to somebody who's non-techie and doesn't understand how to either give you access to accounts or those kind of things, then it may look like a fucking novel that's going to take 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 hours to finish. And they may be hesitating because of that, in which case the solution is simplify the onboarding. So it depends where that's breaking down for you, but it's either something about your proposal and the lost momentum, and you should just be dealing with that right then and there, or it's more than likely your onboarding is like scaring peeps away. So either way, make it better and fix those things, and you'll find you won't have those issues. Theo says, hey, I want to do a database reactivation campaign for my client, but she's worried about texting her database because of the data regulation laws in the UK. Couple things. I mean, one, you could just work with somebody who's not worried about those laws. But what I typically do is, the best thing you can do is show people what the laws actually say you can and can't do, and then show them and say, like, we're not doing any of those things. For example, one of the things that I would do in that scenario to potentially put a client's mind at ease is say, like, look, we're not giving any private medical information or anything that you could get in trouble for. It just says, like, hey, Joan, we miss you and we want you to come back. So we put on a special. And if you're interested in picking up that special, we'd love to have you back, right? So when you show them, like, my activation messages are harmless, and you're not going to get in trouble and clients aren't going to complain, and there's no, like, we're not breaking any of these rules, then you can put their mind at ease. Because I do understand that a lot of lawyers are risk averse. They don't want to do anything that'll risk their license. It's in licensed businesses, doctors, lawyers, accountants, engineers, these kind of people, architects. They don't want to lose their license for doing some kind of marketing tactic. So they're just a little more risk averse than most crowds. And you want to just kind of, show them that like, hey, I'm not going to do anything that's going to risk your license. Janelle says, hey, everyone, I'm looking for some ideas about services to offer in my freelance business. Can you help? Janelle, I have a different process for coming up with services than what everybody else does, and I think it makes a huge difference. To illustrate this point, in my hometown of Windsor, Ontario, Canada, for whatever reason, we got a lot of fucking pizza places and we got a lot of auto body shops. The second one I can figure out, because there's a lot of guys who just work on cars, don't want to have a boss anymore, and so they start their own garage and they kind of like work for themselves, right? Like, so they're kind of like half business owners, but not like super entrepreneurial types. They just don't want to have a boss kind of thing. And I remember actually my girlfriend's car got hit by a Chinese food delivery guy. Actually, it was parked and he smashed into the car, and we suddenly had to go get our car fixed. And her car was a Volkswagen Beetle, which is a Volkswagen is a specialty brand. So most of the auto body shops, despite the fact that there were millions of them, said to us, oh, we don't touch Volkswagens because they're too specialized. There's too many like little things, stuff like that. So they sent us to a Volkswagen specialist dealer. And the guy was busier than all hell because he had all the Volkswagens in the city and everybody referred him. And so almost always there's sub niches within the markets that are completely underserved, and you can be like the Volkswagen guy, just busier than ever. But it comes from the fact that he was really fulfilling a market need, where most of these people started a business for themselves, because I want to sell Facebook ads, because I want to do SEO, because I want to design websites. But instead, the Volkswagen guy listened to what are people asking for. And so I actually, before I come up with a service, I look where people are getting stuck. You actually listening to the market, active, using the ears and looking for where is stuff like, where are people getting asking for solutions that don't really exist. Because if you do this right, you make your agency so much easier. There's actually a $100 million agency in my space, and all they do is they help lawyers answer the telephone from 5:01 p.m. to the next morning. So most lawyers, they answer their phone during the day, but at night nobody does. So they outsource to this agency, and all they do is answer the phone. They're not great at it. They're a $100 million company, and it's because they solve a real market need, and they're the only ones who do what they do. So that's my way of saying, pick a niche first, and then go into there and see what they're asking about and they're getting stuck at. Don't be the 400th auto body shop, because you'll make your life 1,000 fucking times harder. Figure out, hey, everybody seems to be asking about Volkswagen, and there's nobody who really takes care of the sub niche, so I'm going to be that person. And then you'll make your business life so much easier, because it'll be like, instead of pushing the boulder uphill, you'll be swimming with the current. So that's how I come up with new services, is they have to be market driven. I know that sounds like overly simple, but you'd be amazed at how many people don't actually do that, and of course make their life harder. Dario! Okay, so my client's Facebook page got restricted from advertising. We appealed it, and now it is their final decision. Restrictions are not lifted. Contacted Facebook support multiple times, trying to escalate the case to someone that can actually look into it, but no luck. My client, a big and well-known company in home appliances brand, so nothing shady or something might trigger a restriction, wants to sue them and has a lawyer ready. I suggested sending a written complaint first to the Ireland HQ. As per EU law, they are obliged to answer as it is written from as well. Has anyone ever tried getting their restrictions lifted this way? No, I have never heard of anybody doing that, Dario. It is super creative. I seriously hope it works, because I'm one of those people who had, you get your ad account banned for no reason kind of thing, and they don't even tell you what you did, and you're following all the rules and those kind of things. So I'd be interested to see how it goes if you actually pursue them legally. Having said that, there are things you can do in the short term that will just get your client's business up and running, because that's probably what they want more than Facebook specifically. There's other traffic stores. There's TikTok. There's YouTube. There is Google Ads. There's Google Display. There is Bing Ads. So there's Taboola, there's content marketing, there's influencer marketing, there's other traffic stores that are open for business. So in the meantime, I would, get in one of those other traffic stores and get your business going again. Timmy says, hello, just a quick question. Is it possible for me to sell one Go high level feature Without doing paid ads service, my Facebook business account has been permanently restricted and charge clients $500 per month. Is anyone doing that? Looking for some inspiration. Timmy, one of the things I look for in people's questions is something that I call like an unhelpful assumption. And in your case, the unhelpful assumption says to me, is it possible for me to sell one go high level feature? Okay. This implies that what you're selling is a go high level feature, and a feature is different things to different people. So I'll just I'm bullshitting a little bit, but let's say like you invent a text widget. Somebody visits a website with go high level, they can have a text interface, have a basic kind of chat bot kind of conversation or whatever, and you can close some deals that way, more so than the site would without the text functionality kind of thing. That is different things to different people. That one feature to a lawyer could mean injured people in a car accident. To a dentist might mean, people with cavities. To different things, it's different thing to different people. So what you want to do is pick a niche and sell an outcome. So maybe, for example, and I'm not saying you have to do this, but just as an example, say you help your text widget, you use it to help real estate agents sell oceanfront properties. Big oceanfront, multi-million-dollar homes on the water. Well, that's going to be an easier time to sell than, hey, come buy my chat software. So what you want to do is narrow it down to who can best use that and use it to help them create an outcome. And if you sell an outcome, you can easily get $500 a month because it's not the feature, it's what they can do with the feature. So I hope that's helpful to you, my man. Kyle says, we got actually a triple header with Kyle. I'm going to read these all in succession because they're kind of indicates a little more about what he's trying to do with the biz. Kyle says, has anyone hired a sales rep for their agency to go out and get new clients? All of my clients currently are from word of mouth referrals. Was considering making a listing on Indeed, looking for commission-only sales reps to get more clients. Thoughts? That's Kyle part 1. Kyle part 2 is, what is the most important tool for scaling your agency and trying to get more clients? Email scrapers, Facebook ads, cold calling, walking into businesses. All of my clients are word of mouth and Facebook advertising hasn't been working. Just trying to find the best way to get more clients. Kyle also says, would you ever sell your agency? Early on, my goal was honestly just to build a site that made $5K a month, listed on Flippa after a couple months of income, sell it for a big GUAP, not sure what that guap out. I think usually 3 times yearly income, then rinse and repeat with a new site. Then I got a 5K a month. Then I got to 5K a month. Sorry, changed my mind, waited till I got to 10K, then changed my mind and waited till 15K per month. Now I'm not sure if I want to sell. It's enticing though to think about selling it for 3 times yearly income. What I could honestly just make the exact same thing with different branding, build up clients, do the same thing every year. All right, Kyle, man, that gives us a deep insight, I guess, into where you're coming from. Let me answer these kind of one by one. I can tell some of the struggles and challenges. I'm going to send you something cool, by the way, after this, but some trainings we did that'll help you just get past that. But Kyle says, has anyone hired a sales rep? Here's the deal with sales reps. If you're bringing in a sales rep to help you go from 0 to 1, you'll probably have a bad experience with sales reps. Almost always, universally, I see this because you don't have a working offer and your stuff isn't converting yet. And so you're trying to bring in a salesperson to fill that gap. And usually salespeople are good at selling things that are kind of proven and demonstrated. You got to kind of build that. So in other words, you got to have an offer that's working for them. If you're going from 2 to 10, salespeople work really well because it's just follow my system and duplicate what it is that I'm doing. And then you can train them to be and kind of do how you do. So I would tell you, if I was personally in your shoes, I would figure out the offer and not try and skip to a sales rep because you'll probably just have bad experiences. Part 2 says, most important tool for scaling and trying to get more clients. So those are kind of 2 separate things, scaling and getting clients. Scaling has a lot to do with having a very tight niche and deliverable and something that you can deliver, copy and paste over and over. This is pretty awesome with my daughter's bracelet here going on. So scaling is I think about scaling as how can I do something once and get paid twice and build a system where it copies and copies and copies and pastes in order to get more results. And then just doing more of that with more people and more systems and things like that. So to me, scaling is like having mastery of four things. Is like acquisition, you need sales, if you will, the marketing and sales, that kind of whole overlap. You have to bring people on. You have to be able to fulfill, which includes everything from like onboarding to updating them every month and keeping them. You have to be able to hire and train people. And then you have to build on top of it like a wow client experience, like to something that just makes them feel like this is an awesome business to be part of. So those are the four things you need to scale, and they all help with a tight, small deliverable. As far as the second part of like, how do I get more clients? This is not a universal answer, but I'm going to give you the simplest answer that really exists, which is figure out where your niche hangs out already, get in front of those people, and make fucking offers. So I know that probably sounds a little oversimplified because this is different to different people. Like if I'm trying to connect with e-commerce store owners, they hang out a lot in Facebook groups like about Shopify and the tools, and they hang out and talk to each other. So I would go there because that's where they are. If I'm trying to reach a construction worker, he probably doesn't even own a social media account. I'm going to reach him in the real world. I'm going to call him on the phone. I'm going to text him. I'm going to send a piece of mail, but I'm going to go where he is already. If I'm trying to reach like a professional association or a professional group like a dentist, they have associations and conferences and meetings. So I'm going to go there because that's where they are already. So I think about where are the buyers in the niche already, and I go there. And then this is the hard thing, whether it doesn't really matter. Like I've seen people scale agencies just doing in-person networking. I've seen them doing it with Facebook ads. I've seen them doing it with outreach. I've seen them doing it with TikTok ads. You name it. I've seen it fucking work. We do a ton of shit in our agency with direct mail. That's our probably biggest weapon is I send letters in the mail and get clients. But we figure out where the buyers convene and we get in front of them. There's no like magic secret formula. And the hardest part for people is figuring out that's what they need to do and then getting over like a fear of rejection and not personalizing that because it's not really about you anyways. They just reject offers. So if you can make it just about the fact that selling 3 widgets for $3.99, and if they don't want that, it's not about me. They just don't want 3 widgets for $3.99. So maybe we try selling something other than widgets, or maybe we try selling 5 widgets for $3.99. So it sounds like in your case, Kyle, like a lot of your struggles are just related to acquisition, because I noticed this last one of like, can you sell my agency? For the most part, one-man agencies that depend on the owner to run are generally unsellable. The only exception is if you're selling to somebody who can acquire your clients. So like, for example, let's say you run Facebook ads for med spas. I'm not saying you do, but let's just pretend. If there's another agency that runs a med spa agency and does their websites and things like that, they might acquire you because you have the same type of clients. So there can be exceptions where there's extreme synergy. But for the most part, agencies become sellable the minute they can run without the owner. Because otherwise somebody can't really acquire a business if they have to keep you on board to keep it alive, right? It's not really a sellable business. And the way to do that is to get clients consistently. It's to have systems in those 4 things. Systems for getting clients, systems for delivering something awesome, systems for bringing in people to fulfill the work, and systems for delivering a wow factor to clients. You systematize those 4 things, and your agency is be sellable and scalable. But interestingly enough, usually what I find is the minute you can remove yourself, you don't want to sell it anymore, because it's finally a fun business to own, because you can kind of grow it on the sidelines and there's nothing you have to do from the day to day. So I hope that's helpful to you. It sounds like the biggest challenge right now is just figuring out your offer. I'm going to send you a link after this training where you can get it's a course we did. I think I was charging $500 for it, but I'll just send it to you free, my man. And it'll cover like how you get clients even when you don't have case studies. And it's stupid simple, but stupid simple stuff works. We got a Cole up, my man, on the backup mic. Dude, I love the pictures of your boy. Cole says, I thought of this question after your last Q&A where you mentioned white labeling. How might you craft an offer where you're hiring a white label partner to fulfill for you? I don't necessarily craft an offer. I do all my stuff like Travis style, where he talks about coffee date, first date, marriage. So if I'm thinking about working with a white label partner, I don't jump into marriage with them. I give them like 30 days with one client and see how it works. And you'll learn more by working together whether or not that person's a good fit than you will from like hours of figuring out offers and blah blah blah. So usually the offers, it's not actually an offer at all. You're not saying like, do you want to fulfill my work? You're usually actually approaching them as a buyer, and those are usually easier conversations because instead of saying like, hey, how can I get you to do all my fulfillment? It's like, hey, I'm interested in hiring you to manage our fulfillment, and my bigger picture vision is I want somebody I can give all this work to. So would you be open to like doing one little test client, see if it works out? And also like, be mindful of the fact that I want it to look like my brand, and I also like, need some margin, like some meat on the bone so we can both make some money in the deal. Are you open to something like that? You talk to 3 people, 2 of them will say yes. So it's more just about finding somebody good. But when I approach it as a buyer, conversations are usually pretty easy. So approach them as a buyer. It's just like, hey, I'm interested in buying your shit, and here's why I want to buy it. What do you think? Like, that's really all the offer you got to make. Ali says, Frankie Finn, I have a lot of people respond to cold email asking how much. And when I try and book them, they just don't respond. They always just want the price. I swear, consumers hate getting on sales calls. Do you prevent this by initially sending the video after the offer? Ali, you are right. Consumers hate getting on sales calls. And this is because there's a lot of shitty salespeople out there that'll just waste people's time, right? So you just have to be mindful of this, is that especially busy, successful people, they don't want their fucking time wasted. I'll tell you, I differ always from, I shouldn't say always, but frequently from conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom says only state your price at the very, very end of the arrangement. You've had a sales call, you've made them the offer, they understand the terms and the context. Now only can we discuss price. And what I found is, at least for me and different people in our mastermind, is that conventional wisdom is not always correct. And I'll tell you, the thing that matters most in price is not the price. It's what comes after the price, where I mentioned, for that price, you will get. And so I used the example when I was kind of text commenting, but I thought this was a good example for everybody here, especially like those of you guys who follow this on YouTube. But imagine somebody says to you, or imagine you list an ad and it says, I have a car for sale, $5,000. And somebody says, can you tell me about the car? I want you to see how much difference the "and you will get" makes. So imagine a scenario where I'm selling my 1971 used Honda with the door falling off and rust bucket piece of shit and the engine's failing and all that, and I want $5,000 for it. So give me $5,000, and for that you will get this 1971 Honda. Or I want you to imagine a scenario. I saw an ad once where a guy or a wife was selling the husband's Porsche, his brand new 911 Turbo, for like pennies on the dollar because he cheated on her and the car was in her name when they filed the paperwork. And so she's like, I don't care. I don't want him around. I don't want his car around. I'm going to hurt him this way. I'll get back at him. I'll sell his car. So there's a brand new 911 Turbo, which is a $250,000 car, for $5,000. So give me $5,000 and you will get the brand new 911 Turbo. Do you see how, even though both of those have a price of $5,000, and you will get a 1971 Honda, and you will get a brand new 911 Turbo, makes a great deal of difference for how that price is perceived. When most people present their price, they present their price as a take. It will cost you $5,000, and that's not really true. It's "and that for you will get." And if you can outline what you will get for that, you can just tell them, the car is $5,000, and for that, you will get a 911 Turbo, blah, blah, blah. And if there's enough value in there for them, for the right person, they'll just take it. Take it without question. And so my thing is, when they ask for the price, just fucking tell them. But make sure you contextualize it with the "and you will get," or $5,000 may sound like a lot if you don't tell them anything about the car. But if you say, hey, and for that you're going to get a 911 Turbo, you'll start to realize I'm giving 20 times the value I'm asking for, and it'll be a lot easier. Carlos, my man, good to see you too. Nathaniel, brother, he says, I have a client who has not given me access to his Facebook or Google Ads accounts. It's been 3 weeks since they signed and paid the startup fee. What do you do when this happens to you? It seems like they have nothing organized at their office. I'm not saying this is a perfect answer, Nathaniel. I'll tell you what I've done historically. So there's two levels to that. There's like a how to solve this problem immediately right now. And then there's what I call the inception level, is how can I use my systems and process to solve that problem forever so that it never comes up. And so I'm going to answer the surface level one, and it's probably not the best answer, but usually I just go, hey man, like, can't really make you money if we can't set up your campaigns. I know you it's been busy over there and you got like shit going on. How about we just jump on Zoom for 30 minutes and I'll walk you through the account setup, because it's kind of techy and it's kind of involved, and I just like handhold them through it. But what I want to do is the much bigger one, is the inception level, which is how can I solve that with my systems and processes. And so what I might do in your situation is, one way you can handle that is bolt the onboarding onto the sales call. So right after they give you the credit card and you guys say thank you, most people hang up the phone right there. Or if you're doing this by chat, they say, all right, good seeing you. But I would like right then and there say, hey, now we got some momentum going. The first thing I'm going to need is access to your ad accounts. Can we just do this right now rather than me bug you later? And you can walk them through it in 10 minutes as part of the sales process. And you can train your salespeople to do this as well. So I think about how can I deal with that earlier in the process with a system, process, or procedure, and train somebody else to do that for me, like whether that's an account rep or a customer service person or a delivery person, depending on your setup. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go with it, but I look at both. Simple way to solve it right now is you just got to get on the same page with them one way or another. You want to fix it in the system and process way earlier in the sequence and just eliminate that. So I think about how can I deal with that sooner, and I think that'll permanently fix that for you, which is to me like the much more important piece. Cole says, found a company that's been in the biz since 1998, but I hadn't thought of asking if they'd run a small test. Just need to settle on a niche and find out what they want more of, then see if the white label can provide. Dude, that's awesome. I call that deal making, by the way. And the pros, by the way, are deal makers, not agency owners. Like, they think about this as entrepreneurs who are investors, partners, asset people. So that's some next level fucking moves, my man. Nathaniel, by the way, a little bit of a delay there, but glad that helped you. Sean says, what is the best day and time to do webinars? Sean, I'll tell you how we've had success in the past with webinars. We've had some webinars that probably like were steady printers of $50K a month in sales for a while, until like really like you turn it off when you hit like major full-scale delivery problems, which is the case with us, but not because the webinar stops working kind of thing. You just kind of stifle your own traffic because for real, you're breaking all your systems on the back. So we've had that kind of agency webinar. So I think a lot of people would be happy to have those problems where you're making so many sales, your systems are breaking. I can tell you on the inside, it's probably a little stressful and I would do it a little bit differently now. But your question was the best time to run a webinar. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer, but then I'm going to tell you I think there's an unhelpful assumption in the question. The best time I found is whenever, it depends on your audience. Like lawyers, just for example, like they have Sundays free. Some people are like, if they're a stay-at-home mom, it might be when the kids nap in the middle of the day. It's different things for different people, but just figure out when it works best for your audience. The unhelpful assumption, though, is assuming that webinar success is based on the time. So what we've done is I record a live one, get as many people as you can get live, whether that's one person, 2 people, 1,000 people, doesn't matter. You get as many as you can live. And then you iron out the bugs and do a pre-recorded version, and then we just deliver that automatically using Stealth Seminar, which I think is about $60 a month. And they can have automated webinars going for you. Every 15 minutes, a new webinar will be starting, and it'll be the same perfect copy every single time. So the Stealth Seminar can have you deliver that on time. Now, having said that, the biggest thing is you want a webinar hook that's going to be meaningful. There's so many people doing webinars right now that webinars are getting harder and harder to work. So you need to say some meaningful shit to your audience. That means like the title of the webinar, I would personally think about that for hours and hours and hours. Like, what is this webinar about, and why are you going to get on it, and why is that meaningful to you? Because if you hit that right, everything else after will be a home run. So I hope that's helpful to you, my man. We got Zach. Hey, what would be your first way to reach clients for lead gen service in PI law if you had 0 clients, cold email, strategic partnership? Thank you. Zach, well, this is not a theoretical question for me because I did start with 0 clients in PI law. This is different than what most people think, but I believe 60% of our agency success comes down to who we choose as clients to align ourselves. And what I see most people is they treat their niche as if everybody in it is the same. So in ad dentist, I need to get ad dentist. Trust me, if you do this long enough, you will find not all dentists are created equal. This is also true in personal injury law. So what I like to do in my less but better agency lead generation is figure out who the clients are that are worth pursuing. So we have lists of these people, and they're mostly the people who spend money now. I cannot understate that enough. There are personal injury lawyers who are one-man shows who've grown 40 years without ever running paid ads because they just get referrals. And God bless those dudes because they're really good fucking lawyers. But they don't make good business partners because they don't spend money on ads and they don't want to actively grow their business, and they're content with things the way they are. So I look for who is spending money now. And so the first thing is not to even pitch anybody, but it's to get a good list of potential prospects to approach. And then the second thing is we're going to approach them with an irresistible offer. And usually, I'll tell you, the biggest thing people screw up is two things, or I should say there's two things people religiously screw up. Is they make the offer too general and try to appeal to too many people at once. And they make it too big of an ask, meaning it feels like a marriage. I just met you at a bar, you seem really cool, let's go get married. Whoa, that last step was just a little too much, right? So what we want to do is have something specific and show up really small. Hey, I had an idea for a campaign. I could get you a customer, or I could get you a new client before Friday. Interested in running a test? That's an easy yes to say, a small little, I'm going to do something specific for you. So I think about next, what am I specifically, what kind of result could I produce for them quickly? And I just reach out with that as an intro offer. Now, I'm a big believer in zig when everyone else zags. So when I think about reaching them, I always think, what is everyone else doing and how can I stand out from the noise? So lately for us, that's been a lot of direct mail, because I know people don't direct mail lawyers, or if I can meet them in person, or if I can do an interview with the top players. But I never just copy. So if everyone else is sending an email, not that there's anything inherently wrong with email, but I tend not to send email because I want to stand out from the noise. So maybe it means reaching out on LinkedIn. Maybe it means asking a podcast guy. I don't always have the answers, but figure out who you're trying to get in front of, make them an irresistible offer. And if you do that, it's impossible not to get clients. 90s references. Dude, if we didn't live through the 90s, these kids, man, I never thought we'd be those grumpy old men with shotguns on our lawn saying, you kids today don't know how we had it. I had to go knock on my friend's door and remember all 90 telephone numbers my friends have. The 90s references. Like it. Yes, but Zach, as far as your question and offer, hey, I think I can get a truck case before next week. Would you give it a try? But you also you want to be very mindful of what you can actually deliver. I always say it's better to deliver a small but meaningful result that you can really deliver than to it's not about making promises. It's about the most smallest but meaningful promise you could keep for the right person that you could keep. And so I think about if you're going to generate them a trucking case, what would you need? I would say if you're going to generate them a trucking case, it's probably going to be with cold traffic. It's going to cost them some money. But what's the smallest window of time? So I'll tell you just for us, what's worked in the motorcycle cases is I say I think I can get you a motorcycle case in the next 90 days. Open to running a 90-day test. It'll cost $6,000. What do you think? So that's the thing, is you want to show up with a real small but meaningful result you can actually deliver. So if you're going to promise a trucking case, that's my way of saying figure out what the best, simplest, most easiest way to actually bring them a trucking case is, and then go show up with that. And be mindful that also not enough people think about step 2 after that, because we want to be strategic, which is I'm going to deliver this for somebody once, and then I want to deliver the same thing over and over. So I understand the least I'm ever going to get paid for that trucking case is the first time I do it. But when I copy and paste the system each successive time, it'll become more valuable and easier to deliver. So we want to be thinking about, like, mindfully, just get one lawyer, demonstrate a result, and you'll get paid more and more for, like, delivering that result on command kind of thing. Yeah, Ollie, I'm actually really interested in your PR. By the way, this is a deeper thing to understand. There are 5 measures of value. And the reason I tell you this, Ali, is because most people get stuck in this idea. If I'm delivering, I'm not shooting you the finger, by the way. I guess I am, but I'm not like saying fuck you. Is think the only meaningful result is the middle one, which is money. But one of the biggest, most meaningful results, often for the right people, is far more valuable than money, is the result of reputation, which is sometimes intangible and not always easy to measure. But I'll give you a real life example of this. So supposedly the story goes, CEO of Pepsi kicked in Steve Jobs' door, or sorry, other way around. Steve Jobs kicked in the CEO of Pepsi, wanted him to come work for him. Now this guy has more money than what he knows what to do with, right? So money is not like a big deal to somebody who already has money. Reputation, he said to him, a reputation promise is, do you want to change the world and sell these computers with me, or do you want to be known as the guy who brought sugar water to the world? And the guy thought about it, and he came and worked with Steve Jobs. That is selling a reputation kind of thing. So that's like a big example, but that's my way of saying, don't underestimate I can get you in these 5 publications as being valuable. Because if you own, like, there's a real value enhancing your reputation, and there is, by the way, measured both in terms of monetary and easier, right? The bigger your reputation it is, it's easy to sell. Like when Tony Robbins sells out a coaching thing, he just on stage says, we got a coaching thing. Go line up over there and give those people your credit card and 10 grand, right? That's because his reputation is so big. So don't underestimate the value of enhancing people's reputation. It's not always... we have to demonstrate money. Just like, really, I can get you in Forbes for real, and whatever publications or whatever it is, those have real value to people. So that's my way of saying you got a pretty killer offer. As far as our offer, we're experimenting a little. So I'm in the transition state of what I call running omnipresence retargeting. Basically, big injury lawyers drive a shit ton of traffic. We retarget their traffic across like 80 platforms, like maybe not 80, but a lot, and then do a shit ton of cheap follow-up that helps convert more of them to cases. There's a deeper level thinking that we kind of talk about in our mastermind. Those of you guys who are in it will know my golf analogy. Next question. Siraj says, agency owners, what's your first hour of the day look like? Siraj, I heard a guy many, many years ago who was talking about having morning, like, practices rather than routines, because like I got kids, my routines get interrupted constantly. I don't wake up and meditate for 2 hours. Some days it's like, Daddy, I don't want to be awake. Make me some fucking food. I'm miserable, right? Like it's not meditation hour at that point. So I like to just have habits that I can go back to when I need to, but to not make those like have to. So like, for example, most days I exercise for 20 minutes first thing in the morning, but I don't beat myself up if there's a day where I can't exercise or whatever. I try to hit about 5 of 7 days a week. I like to journal sometimes and think about what I'm grateful. I keep a lot of yellow legal pads around so I can brainstorm all my best ideas, and then I think about how to create cool shit, and I create to-do lists and then think about who can help me with it or how can I get this done and those kind of things, and then I go execute on those things. But having said that, if I miss a day and we go to the beach that morning, or if friends are coming over, if we got a call or something like that, or it's somebody's birthday and we got plans, like I don't lose my sleep over it. So that's my way of saying have structures that help you, but don't be so rigid and inflexible about them. Ollie says, also the mastermind. Could you tell us a little bit about it? Definitely of interest. Sure, Ollie. The mastermind is called the Wolf Pack. We got about, I want to say 39 folks in there right now, self-included, so maybe 38. And it is an awesome, awesome group of like super high level agency owners. And what we're working on kind of together is what I call the phoneless, meetingless agency. So it's phoneless and meetingless on the sales side. It's phoneless and meeting on the client delivery side. And it's phoneless and meetingless on the hiring side. It's really best, to be honest with you guys, with people who are between 5 and 20 clients. and want to scale and do less, but ultimately at the same time actually deliver a better product for the client, which is about getting more leverage on their efforts and things like that. And having a more scalable, kind of sellable business. We've had some people who've done some pretty awesome things, you know, had their first $100,000 months inside there, have clients pay them, you know, 100 grand in a single setting. We've had people have lifetime client value over $400,000. I'm not saying all of that was picked up in the mastermind because they're smart agency owners on their own, but we help them just figure out the problems and the challenges a lot quicker. It's my way of saying, like, you know, most of you guys who are in the mastermind would figure out all this shit on your own, but instead of taking 8 years to do it, we help you do it in 8 weeks. So if you're interested in that, Ali, I got a video. Yeah, and it's not necessarily even introvert optimized. It's more like, it's definitely, you're right, Zach. It's conducive for introvert, but the reason why I created it is more to have like leverage on your time, right? Because we want a business that serves our lives. I call it the more beach, less laptop agency, where you can actually go to the beach with your family, and yet your systems are delivering great results for clients. Your sales are closing people. Your processes are doing the heavy lifting for you, and so it's really like about, like, you know, if you want to build an agency that serves your life instead of owns your life, I would say, more than anything. And it happens to work really well for introverts, but I found like the energy required to do 100 sales calls was really, really high, super draining. The energy required to send 100 videos, super easy, right? Like copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And so we just want to make your lives easier with energy and kind of flow in that. Cole says, my little man's care needs are not and will be my only routine. Exactly, man. When you need that to work for you. But man, when he's smiling and making happy sounds, it sure makes it all worth it. Dude, I feel you. Those little moments of parenting, right? The other day, I forget what Ilka and I are stressed out. Her parents are coming to visit. We got like, just, I don't know. There's a lot of chaos, like life-wise behind the scenes, not necessarily business-wise, just going on behind here, like people visiting, things going on, Heidi's birthday party. We have people coming over this day, like they're just that kind of chaos. And the other day our little girls were just giggling and fucking giggling and giggling and giggling and giggling. I'm like, that's why I do what I do, because I can sit here and just listen to my girls giggle. But they really do remind you of those little moments. Yes, Ali, that's the other thing, by the way. Ali says, I find a lot of people would rather see a video instead of getting on a sales call. Like, that's just a fucking fact. And by the way, the higher up you go, the success ladder, the more this is true. Busy, successful people do not give away their time easily. They value their time the highest. And so if you say, jump on a 60-minute sales call, even if you say, let's have a 7-minute sales call, they know it ain't going to be over in 7 minutes. And so they know you're talking a long, drawn-out sales call where they're going to be hard sold. And so they will say no on that basis. And so a lot of times people say, like, how well do your videos convert? And the truth is they're about 15, 20%. And so people go, aha, my closing rate is 60%, it's 80%. I would lose sales. And I say, no, because 10 times the number of people will watch your video as will get on a sales call with you. So it's not apples to apples, right? Like if we have 100 sales calls and you close 60 people because you're a 60% kind of person, you would have 60 clients. But if you have 100 people who will watch a video or get on a sales call with you, that usually means 1,000 would watch a video. And if you close 15% of them, you'll get 150. And you'll actually have better people come through the sales, the video way, which kind of still blows my mind. That I always thought it would be the other way around. But you're right, Ali. People would way rather watch a video because highly busy, successful people, peeps with money, don't just give away their time. Like I'm actually today on my to-do list, so I'm going to reach out to Jay Abraham's assistant and say, hey, I have this really cool idea for an interview. I think we could do it in like 30 minutes. Would you be open to giving me 30 minutes of your time to crank out this piece of content? I know that just Jay Abraham is so busy and so successful that may be a challenge just to get that meeting. As where if I reach out to like a broke, starving beginner lawyer and say, hey, I got an idea to help you get some business, he's going to tell me my whole calendar's open. Let's talk. Right? So generally speaking, busy, successful the peeps with money, this is more conducive to selling those peeps this way. Kevin says, hey there, can you recommend a good onboarding process for clients? For example, if a client finds my agency website, there should be a short questionnaire about his company and then a strategy call for your agency to close a deal. And what do you talk about on the strategy call? Do you ask for payment on that call? Is it just where they're standing and what they're looking for? Kevin, that is a loaded question. First of all, it says like onboarding process, but most of what you're describing, I would categorize as a sales acquisition process. To me, onboarding is from the moment you were sending the payment link to I'm bringing them into the client, my world as a client. We're setting up ad accounts, things like that, just to clarify that definition. How do we do our process? I'm not saying this is the only process, but I like to do, this has made my life so much easier, is I do something called a hand raiser, which is a 1 to 3 sentence condensed version of the offer. And what we have found is if people will not raise their hand and say, tell me more about that on the hand raiser, then they won't buy it later. Putting it on like a webinar and having 17 follow-up emails and writing it in a cold email campaign and creating a VSL and a funnel, if they won't raise their hand in 1 to 3 sentence version of it, they are not going to buy it later. And so this has made our life so much easier, because when we're in a situation like yours where we don't necessarily have an offer that's working, I like to just throw out a 1 to 3 sentence hand raiser where my audience goes. It's like, hey, who's interested in getting 3 widgets for $3.99? Anybody? No. Okay. Who's interested in getting this outcome for $500? I don't actually usually typically put the price in it. It's usually about the outcome or the problem that you're solving. But just examples. So what will happen is people will raise their hand and say, tell me more about that. And then we just send them a video, 5-minute video. There's a training I did on our channel, by the way. You can watch this and build your own. It is called, actually, I'll post a link for you guys, because this is good shit. Post the good shit. So all our Loom training I've organized, put on this page. I'm just going to put it in the comments here for you guys. This is for any of you guys who want to sell with video instead of chasing clients on the phone. I show you exactly how we do it and how to build your own and what are the kind of the principles that guide those videos. So if you're interested in that, check that baby out. So that's really our process in essence of getting clients, is we do different things to get them to raise their hand, whether that's a content post or a paid ad or a direct mail or even an intro. All of it is just a 1 to 3 sentence hand raiser. I sometimes try them in different media, but the principle is the same. Hey, would you be interested in getting a motorcycle case in the next 90 days? They say yes. And they say, let me send you a video about it. And then they watch the video and they say, okay, that's a good idea. I want to do that. Here, I paid my thing. How do we get started? And then the onboarding goes over. I'm a big fan, by the way. This is what's different about our onboarding, and I'm actually building this into the mastermind this week. It's on my to-do list. It's helping our guys get all our processes. What we do that's different is before I then go after a client and say, let me get your passwords and all those kind of things, which is what most people do. Like, let me get your information. I do something called welcome aboard. And I just want to make them feel good about the decision they just made, because I know there's a real thing called buyer's remorse, which is people, after they make a big decision, immediately feel some kind of like, did I just make a mistake? And one of the best things you can do to address that is like welcome people in style. So like I usually like, hey, we're super excited to have you. Really honored that you do that. Like for real, we appreciate you. Our business wouldn't be anything without you. We're so honored to have you as a client. And then right after, we order them a gift and we send them a handwritten note in the mail, and those will arrive 1 to 2 to 3 days later and a week later. So they really get like 3 kind of welcomes right in there. That takes us less than 5 minutes to do. And then we say, hey, so excited to have you. We need a few passwords and things to get started. And when we do that, we're using a tool called Leadsy, which makes it really easy for them to just give us their accounts in a couple clicks. And then like 10 minutes later, okay, we're all set up. Everything good at our end, we're good to go. It doesn't always work perfectly. There's sometimes some tech challenges, but we're trying to keep it stupid simple. So that's our thing. Hand raiser, somebody says, all right, I'm interested in what you got. Okay, let me send you a video. Certain percentage of people who watch a video, okay, that makes sense. I paid my thing, ready to get started. Then we welcome them in style, set up a grand welcome, and then we say, let's get your passwords. I would describe that as our kind of customer acquisition process in a nutshell. So hope that's helpful to you in helping build your own. Russ says, what's everyone using for taking inbound calls? I used Call Hippo a while back. Is there currently anything better? Russ, I don't know if I'm the best person to ask, just because this is one of those where I haven't used it for a few years, because we don't necessarily need tracking phone numbers like we used to, just the way our agency is set up now. But I used to use a lot of CallRail, and there was another one that was really, really simple, a small-time competitor called CallFire. And I liked Call Fire actually the best because they were the simpler their back end is, the better. Like add a phone number, track calls. Do you want to record the calls? Yes, I do. Blah blah blah, and like that's it. I'm ready to go in like 5 minutes. I like stupid simple systems. Like we actually use Aweber to send our emails, and I almost like considered switching the other day because for years and years and years they've had the easiest inbox, and now they've tried to switch it over to compete with companies like ActiveCampaign, and they just made the whole thing more complicated than it needs to be. So I'm a big fan of like software that I can set up in 5 minutes and go and use. So for that reason, we used a lot of Callfire. Check it out. You may like it. If not, but I mean, if Call Hippo's working with you, keep rocking them. Look like that's all the questions, just because there are a couple of mastermind questions, by the way. For those of you guys wondering, I'll send you a video on it. You can also find this video, by the way, at beyondagencyprofits.com/about. And the first video down that page is about the mastermind if you're interested. How much it costs, whether or not you'd be a good fit for it, like who's the right kind of person for it, what it'll help you do if you are that kind of right person, and all that kind of good stuff. So if you're interested in that, check that out. It is, again, beyondagencyprofits.com/about. And what we're really about is really like building phoneless, meetingless agencies that are built with far more leverage than most people, and in doing so allow you to actually have a life while you run your business, instead of like having a business that just fucking owns you, which is what most people build. An agency is the easiest business in the world to build a prison because it's a high ticket service business. So like in many ways you are the product. Clients want to talk to you. They want to ask questions. You're the expert. So things like that. So it's so easy to get a few clients and then be trapped in this 80-hour work week, but still not be making the money. And so much of the solution to all of that is figuring out how to get more leverage on your time with tools and technology, right? Like if people watch a 5-minute video and it feels like you're talking to them, they felt like they just had 5 minutes with you, but in actuality they just had 5 minutes with the video version of you, and that was very easy for you to deliver because it's you in a video, right? So hope that makes sense. For those of you guys that are interested and have questions, you can also send me a PM. I'll send you a link to that video. It's just a little Loom video. I think it's about 20 minutes long. Shows you just what we're about, what we do, how it works, how much it costs, those kind of details. If you're interested, check it out. So I think that's all I got. Questions, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be an awesome week, by the way. Two little bonus announcement just before I forget. But I have some more awesome trainings in the pipeline that we are going to be dropping. So firstly, I brought on our man Chase Snow to be talking about really how they're automating the onboard. So when you sign a client, so you can deliver this wow experience at scale, but have software and tools. Like say you want to send a client, like just as one little small example, you want to send a client when you sign them up, automatically a handwritten letter that's personalized and customized to them. You can set that up inside a ClickUp and software tools so that as soon as the client pays you, it automatically orders it on your behalf, and there's nothing you have to do. And every single client who signs up with you will get a letter in the mail. So it's like all kinds of cool things. I compared it to Lego because Lego is, you can build infinite number of things, but we're going to show you some of the cool shit you can build with a combination of ClickUp and some other software and automation tools. I think what he's building is next level, so I wanted to show you guys that. Secondly, hyping my own shit. I brought on a fucking legend, our man Dennis Yu, who's in our group here, by the way. For those of you guys who don't know Dennis, he's one of the biggest people at Traffic and Funnel. He's been all over TV in every industry. I've been in a few industries, and Dennis always knows the top players, and the top players know Dennis. Grant Cardone knows Dennis. Ryan Dice knows Dennis. Perry Marshall knows Dennis. Like, Dennis is just an international sensation. And what we really wanted to talk about is a different kind of agency where clients see you more like a heart surgeon, where they show up and say, Doc, what do you think? Can we do surgery to fix my situation? And how much is it going to be? I know it's going to be like 100,000 or more. Instead of what a lot of agencies are building, which is closer to the door-to-door salesman of like knocking on doors, annoying and pestering people. Do you want to buy my shit? You want to buy my shit? You want to buy my shit? Both of those agencies work, but I feel like there's something beautiful about the prestige of being an expert where your whole thing is inbound. And Dennis has some next level stuff, something he calls the content factory, which creates this endless amount of circulating content at scale for super cheap that brings people to you. We were talking about Dennis doesn't do any sales calls. He doesn't do any meetings. He gets some of the biggest clients. He's had like Sacramento Kings, Nike's worked with him, just like really fucking big brands. And we were talking about how to create that inbound effect with content that takes you like a minute to shoot. So Dennis is really, really fucking cool. And I wanted to share that behind the scenes stuff. It's really just an hour and a half of him and me talking about all kinds of random shit about growing an agency, connecting, smart ways to do things, playing more strategic in chess. And then we got interrupted by my daughters and he had a hike to go on. And so it's an hour and a half or so of coolness. So I'll be sharing some snippets and stuff from that. So I hope you guys dig that. Other than that, Cole, my hype man, I think it's time to call it a show. Thank you guys so much for doing this. You know I love you guys. 55 minutes of rocking with you guys. May the force be with you, my friends.